Join us now, Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist, attorney, and host of the Crisis Files. Good morning, Roshini. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. And as we've seen over the years, Donald Trump goes off script pretty much every time he's in front of a microphone, whether it happens early in his remarks or just when you think he's wrapped it up and then he rambles on for 20 to 30 more minutes. So it was not surprising yesterday that he wanted to be provocative. However, I definitely know that he was off the mark in really kind of trying to needle with this DEI piece. And at a time when we are basking in the tragedy of what happened in D.C., the timing of that was not good. You can get your same point across without being so pointed when you really don't have the apparent evidence of, who even these pilots and people on the Black Hawk were, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I should not be surprised at anything Donald Trump says. We followed him for his first 4 years, then his next 4 years, and now he's back. But I think it just struck me because I was hurting so bad yesterday all day thinking about the families of these 67 people who died in this tragedy. And while we all have questions and we all want answers, it just felt to me that he wasn't focusing on the right part of the story at the right time. And look, he has a case to make on DEI, and he has a lot of support from the American people that they don't want DEI. They want people to be based on merit, merit-based performance. But he sort of, he just cut his own legs out a little bit, I think, even on that topic, let alone this being just the wrong time for this argument.
Right. I mean, he put his foot in his mouth for sure. The only way that kind of a line works is if you already had proof before we've even really finally identified who was on the Black Hawk. You already had proof that who was on there was flying and was not qualified. I mean, that would be the only way that remark works. Otherwise, as the president, the nation needs to start the healing. You've got your Secretary of Defense there. You've got other people there. So I give him points for transparency and bringing out the right people to address the American public and the media. But that topic itself is so fully charged that before you bring it out on this kind of critical moment, you better have more things fully baked.
My producer, Laura Hessen, and I actually in real time had that discussion because we both looked at each other when he started, going in that direction on DEI, and I, because I can speak to her, directly without going over the air. And I said he knows that one of the people working was a DEI hire, and she goes, no, he doesn't. I'm like, he has to, or he wouldn't say this. And she's like, no, I don't think he does. I think he's just going off script. And then I thought about it.
He's being provocative.
Yeah, and I thought, you know what? I think you're right, and I'm wrong. I don't think he knows for sure that somebody specifically was working that was a DEI hire. Now maybe he's talking about management, or maybe he was just worried that MSNBC was going to come on and say, Donald Trump, this is on your watch. These are your people, and he just wanted to make sure people knew he just got here, and it was the last administration's fault, not his.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty clear of the timing. I mean, it's we're not even into the month of February. You've been president for today, 11 days, right, as of today. So these are the kinds of times that, again, I've said in the past on your show, I don't think he's coachable, but if I were able to coach him, I would try to remind him that so much of what he stands for in his platform, most people, regardless of their party, are on board. But it's those kinds of moments when you say these things that aren't really backed in the reality of the moment. And the reality of the moment was pure tragedy. We needed emotion and empathy from the president, as well as just a solid word that he's going to get to the bottom of this, and then move over and let your Secretary of Defense and others actually address the media, because inevitably those people who are in that press room, and we know who many of the main characters are going to needle him and are going to try to get some crazy soundbite out of him. In this case, they didn't even need to do the needling. he put the soundbite out there, and then they continued to ask questions to back it up, which is what reporters do.
Well,
That's what reporters do.
He didn't even stop there. Then he went on just an attack on Pete Buttigieg, the former transportation secretary. He said he's all BS and said he's a terrible mayor. I mean, here we're standing. The first words from the president after this tragedy, he's telling us that that Pete Buttigieg was a terrible mayor in South Bend or wherever he was the mayor. I mean, it's just. I don't know.
Yes.
It's just I don't know what's running through his mind while he's doing it.
His people need to get to him.
Discipline.
Here's the thing too, Kevin. We're at this place where some of his senior officials have been confirmed and sworn in. Others who are pretty controversial picks are going through hearings still and haven't been sworn in. But at least some key people are in place. They need to huddle around him and say, President, Mr. President, please don't do any press conferences for a while. Please let us handle the respective department. Let us handle this because, look, we all can agree air safety, airline safety is such a priority. And if some of the policies, because that's a stressful job, air traffic control, piloting, both very stressful jobs. And there are some policies in place that, there is actual credible evidence that people who were qualified were turned away because they were of a race that at that moment was not being hired. Now, those things need to be looked into and eradicated, and we need to not have discriminatory policies. But on yesterday's press conference was not the time to just wave that flag when you really don't know what you're talking about. So bad messaging from him. Now people are in sort of damage control on that, and that's where a lot of our attention is. Where it should be is really on this investigation, what went wrong, because you don't have to be much more than 10 years old to know that crash should not have happened, right? That should not have happened on that night over the water. It just shouldn't have.
And I think we'll find out what went wrong because I think the transparency will be there. It's just the messaging that was poor. Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist, attorney, and host of the Crisis Files podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you.